registering a growth of 31% Q-on-Q, whereas growth was 47.4% over Q4 FY20 EBITDA. The margins of EBITDA in Q4 FY21 were around 20.6%. Margins were higher due to adoption of cost rationalization measures, lower ECL provision, and reversal of provision of earlier quarters to the tune of 9 crores. PAT for Q4 FY21 were 24.4 crores as compared to 15.2 crores in Q3 FY21 and 3.8 crores in Q4 FY20. Cash PAT for Q4 FY21 was 53.1 crore as compared to rupees 39.4 crores in Q3 FY21. Debt stood at comfortable levels with gross debt at 286.1 crore, witnessing a sharp reduction of 125.7 crores from Q2 FY21. Our net debt remains stable at 129.9 crore as compared to 126.7 crore in Q2 FY21, with net debt equity ratio at the end of March 31st standing at 0.41x. With this, I now leave the floor open for questions.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Nagraj Chandrasekhar from Laburnum. Please go ahead.
Hi, congrats on a very strong quarter and strong cash collections especially. I wanted to understand as we start executing our order book and ramping up revenues to this 400 crore and beyond quarterly run rate and hopefully getting past the 2000 crore run rate by end of 22, how will our working capital and debt move over the year? And what should be the capex in the both the MADA and the non-MADA parts of the business?
So I don't see any major impact on the debt part of it because we are a construction company, and if the client quality is good and your collection remains what has been exhibited over the last 2 quarters especially, leaving the pandemic aside, then we don't see any reason for increase in the debt levels from where it currently is. Okay, there can be a 15-20 crore blip in 1 quarter and reduction in the subsequent quarter. That's one part of your question. Second part of the question is on the working capital. So working capital, as I informed in the last quarter conference call, we believe that we shall be at the pre-COVID level, that is December FY20 levels, by December of the current financial year. And we should be at the pre-IL&FS debacle situation by March 22. So on the working capital front also, we have seen significant improvement. We expect the improvement to continue from Q2 onwards because we have seen some disruption due to the second wave of COVID in the Q1. But however, we do believe that from Q2, it will stabilize and improve thereon.
What have just been the largest bottlenecks in working capital and the release in working capital from collections you've seen in the last 2 quarters? What have been the main sort of types of customers or categories of customers where we've seen this bump up?
We haven't seen a bump up in any significant change in the debtor levels. Debtor level, all the clients are extremely good and they have been releasing payments on time because as explained earlier, the post-COVID period, the supply chain management and their credit levels have changed forever. So the credit levels which were available maybe up till before the onset of the first wave of pandemic is no longer available. So the luxury of giving any excessive credit to any client does not arise. On the contrary, if you see our debtor levels, they have fallen by literally 100 crores.
Yes, that's true. And on CapEx?
On the CapEx part, there is no investment on the books of capacity from MHADA project. However, CIDCO project totally entails an investment of 75 to 90 crores plus minus 5%, and that is spread over the next two current year and the next financial year.
And just on the order pipeline and the actual orders in 21, obviously you're starting off with a very large order book and the challenges this year, but how does that look like, or are you happy with what you have now and will focus more on very good quality projects and wrapping up to the 2,500, 3,000 crore sort of revenue run rate?
The strategy remains the same what I had elaborated during my previous investor conference call. We will be focused on our existing clients. Any new client addition in the private sector will be solely and only if they are better than the current lot of clients, number one. Number two, given the visibility of what clients' announcements are coming out, let's leave the first quarter alone because of the first 2 months of pandemic, second wave. But I do believe that we should be able to achieve the current year's target, which we had given last time.
Thank you. We would request the current participant to please come back in the question queue for any follow-up questions, as we have several participants waiting for their turn. Next question is from the line of Sita Raman from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah. Can you tell me what is the receivables, including retention and unbilled revenues, please?
366.2 crores.
Okay. This is including unbilled revenues.
Unbilled is 81 crores. 448. The total would go to 448 crores. And in that also, as against March of 20, there is a substantial reduction of nearly close to 50 crores.
Come again, sorry? The last one?
As against March 20, the reduction stands at 150 crores.
Okay. The total of 448 crores. That is it. Okay. Okay. What is the inventory including work in progress?
See, now the inventory, which you now treat as other financial assets, in totality stands at 418 crores, which includes work done, not billed, inventory, work in process, complete. This is as against FY20.
Yeah, 356.
Total 456. As against 456 crores in FY20.
Okay.
So thereby there's a reduction at both levels, at debtors level, there's a reduction in the financial assets level.
Okay.
Most importantly, you have to look at the balance sheet. The balance sheet size has reduced as compared to last financial year.
Okay, right. Can you tell on what is the big pipeline that you are seeing, and also what is the split between real estate, healthcare, and commercial?
Sorry, sir, please come in. I have not followed your question.
What is the big pipeline that you are currently that you foresee, and what is the split that we can see on the real estate, healthcare, and commercial in this particular big pipeline for capacity?
So the bid pipeline, as per the entire market size is concerned, is very, very huge. It still remains at close to 46,000 crores as mentioned last time. But since capacity has an extremely strong order backlog, we have decided to focus on certain projects. And in that, we have approximately 14 hospital projects which we are currently working on. Apart from that, there will be affordable housing segment, and super high rises. So this entirely, to our sensibility at the moment, is close to 7,000 crores. And given our track record, which was close to approximately 25 to 27%, we should be able to achieve our target for the current financial year.
Okay, the bid pipeline is currently, you are telling it's around 7,000 crores that you are seeing.
46,000 crore. Out of that, we have identified for the next quarter and a half a bid pipeline, which capacity will be focusing on, which will be about 7,000 crores.
7,000, right. Okay. And currently, what is the percentage of the construction cost split between cement, steel, and diesel? How do you what is the impact? Yeah, please. Sorry.
The cost of consumption, that is all materials together.
Yeah, cement, steel, and diesel part. How is
we don't take diesel. Let me complete, please.
Okay.
The total percentage is 45 average for materials, which includes steel, cement, concrete, lube, oil, everything. The subcontractor and the labor contractor cost is 20.5%. And other construction expenses will be close to 5.5%. These are indicative. They may change by a couple of percentage points quarter on quarter. But however, if you compare on yearly basis, they are quite constant.
Okay. And what is the impact of the commodity price hikes on our margins?
Nil. We have 100% pass through.
Okay. And on the deposits pledged for credit facilities and margin money against bank guarantee and LC?
The total fixed deposit position.
Sorry?
I'll give you the total fixed deposit position. Please give me a second.
Okay.
It should be close to 230 crores.
Okay. Okay, yeah, sure. And on the credit facilities and margin money?
So out of this, we provide margins money, and we believe that close to 40 crores as on 31st of March was unencumbered, which was not against margin monies. Margin monies as a percentage to bank guarantee and LC range between 10 to 15%.
Thank you. We would request the current participant to please come back in the question queue. Next question from the line of Brijesh Mishra from Nippon India Mutual Fund. Please go ahead. Brijesh, your line is in talk mode. You can go ahead, please. We would request you to unmute yourself if it's from the handset. Due to no response, I have muted the line. The next question is from the line of Mohit Kumar from DAM Capital. Please go ahead.
Yes. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
2 questions, sir. So are you seeing any new inquiry in residential space, especially in Mumbai region? Do you expect the order inflow from private residential to be materially up? Does your 20 billion, which you are targeting for next quarter and half, includes private residential?
Yes, it does include private residential, and we see repeat orders from existing clients. That is what our focus is at the moment. Number 2, we do see a serious traction in the healthcare side from the government, and they will be building of close to 5 to 6 hospitals over the next 1 quarter.
So these 5 to 6 hospitals you're talking about, they are prominently located in MMR region. Am I right?
Yes, that's right.
Yes, sir. Secondly, sir, what was CIDCO contribution in revenues in FY21, and what is the timeline? And third is that do we have complete pass through for all the project, or is there any residual risk of the raw material input inflation?
So the contribution of CIDCO in quarter was 43 odd crores. You can send a mail and we will be happy to give the exact details. The overall revenue contribution of CIDCO for the whole year was close to 140 to 150 crores for last FY21. That's one part of your question. Second part is on the commodity price variations. On the private sector side, all commodities, including steel, cement, concrete, are 100% pass-through, which means that if there is a price increase, the client will bear. If the price decreases, client will take away. Similarly, for CIDCO project, there is a 100% pass-through for steel and cement and for fuel. For other items in CIDCO, it is index linked. Coming to MCGM, it is index linked. At the moment, we are covering up entire increase on a cumulative basis as far as commodities are concerned. PWD has an inbuilt buffer of 12 crores towards commodity risk. However, the project has to be executed over 3 years, and therefore we do not see any significant downside at the moment in time, taking into track the last 15 years of steel commodity movement. So basically, all our projects are passed through. Whichever is not passed through, it is already budgeted. So we do not see any impact due to commodity fluctuation as far as our order book goes. Hope that answers your question.
Understood, sir. Thank you, sir. Best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhananjay Mishra from Sunidhi Securities. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Congratulations on very strong operating performance. So you said that CIDCO contributed about 46 crore in terms of revenue in this quarter. So when do we see run rate, monthly run rate way, when we used to talk about 70 to 80 crore from CIDCO, or annually we can do about 1,000 crore from CIDCO?
I had given this last time also. We were expecting the revenues to increase to 30 crores from this quarter. However, there has been the second wave, and therefore we see that it should go to 30 crores per month from July onwards. It should top up to 50 crores from the third quarter and 70 crores from quarter 4. So there can be a shift of a couple of months, but broadly the projections remain the same. You can multiply and come to the figure.
You are saying that from 70 crore run rate will be from Q4 FY22?
Sorry?
70 crore monthly run rate will be from Q4 FY22.
I repeat, 50 crores run rate will be from quarter 3, 70 crores will be from quarter 4.
Okay. So in FY23 only there will be significant contribution from CIDCO, right?
Sir, we have a commitment of doing 2,000 crores of revenue with our various clients in the current financial year. And out of that, CIDCO will be contributing 700 crores, which we have given an indication in the last conference call itself.
Okay. And what is our non-fund based limit? And can you elaborate in terms of annual interest cost? What is the bank charges in that?
We have a total non-fund based limits of close to 1,500 crores. On an average, the bank guarantee commission is 1.5%. On LC front, we have 150 crores, which has charges of approximately 1% for opening. And we have 240 crores currently as total fund-based limits, which include short-term, long-term both, including term loan. The average borrowing cost between 8% to 9.5%.
Okay, sir. And lastly, sir, how is this JJ Hospital project is doing?
Billing of 28 crores and payment of 28 crores has been received as on March. All right. And the work at the moment is in progress at the project site. So we had estimated close to 150 crores or thereabouts in the whole financial year. For the moment, we believe it is achievable.
And when we expect this Mahada project get converted in actual order in terms of?
Mahada bid is an actual order. Mahada the design had changed. I had given the details of the rehab buildings going from 22 to 40 stories. The approvals have been received. IOD/CC has been granted by the client because it is in the scope of the client. We are starting with a new design, the entire piling, which is load-bearing piling, from next week onwards.
Okay, sir. That's all from my side. All the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rudresh Gandhi from Discovery Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, so just have a quick strategic question. At the time of the IPO, we were kind of focused on private orders, and the rationale we had given was that they are based on quality of our service as opposed to on actually L1 and the tenders. And over the years, we've sort of evolved into where the larger proportion of our book is the public orders, So how should we think about the rationale of the change in strategy and the reason we did pivoted to a government-focused model?
During IPO, we were only a 5-year-old company. And when you are 5 years or below that, you do not have an option of bidding for government projects. Because government projects have certain entry barriers.
Yeah.
As private sector is concerned, it is your performance which the clients take into consideration. Therefore, government, on absolute basis, government indeed is one of the biggest spender as far as as far as buildings are concerned, including healthcare. So it was never the idea that we have to ignore that sector. What we had mentioned that like we have a focus on quality clients on the private sector side, the focus on the public sector also will be on quality clients. And therefore, if you look at our clientele in the public sector also, we are being able to maintain a debtor cycle of nearly 32 to 33 days, which is lowest. And therefore, now coming to the mix, whether it is 60% temporarily, it could go to maybe 59% by this quarter end, or it could fall further in next quarter. Focus will be on quality clients, debtor collection, and maintaining the cash flows so that the broad parameters and key indicators of the balance sheet are not challenged.
But so then effectively the equity IRR we look at on a project basis in the private and the public when we are bidding is approximately the same. And if you could also highlight the kind of competitive intensity we are seeing in the public projects, because obviously those are all based on L1.
See, we have to understand that capacity is not bidding for the 150 or 200 crore projects, where the competitive intensity is very, very high. Number two, 3 out of our 4 projects in government are design build, where engineering is in our scope. And if you look at the competition at that level, it's only among the top 4-5 players in the country. So once you are doing design engineering projects, there is no difference on the margin front, and that is what is visible from what our performance has been over the last 1 year, at least the first 2 quarters.
And so the equity IRR expectations are similar in line for public and for private, or is private like little more lucrative?
There is no IRR in cash contracts. The IRR on equity is at the company level. It has shown improvement in the fourth quarter. And therefore, you should not look at the IRR of a project because we are not doing BOT. We only provide long-term working capital at the company level. And the entire working capital is made up of our equity and the debt and what advances we receive from our clients.
Actually, what would be the exact criteria we use in pricing? If we are looking at equity IRR, then we look at what margin, EBITDA margin?
We look at cash profit.
As a cash profit, got it. Okay, all right, thanks. I'll just get back into you. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Deepak Poddar from Sapphire Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for taking my question. So just wanted to understand on the depreciation part, so how do we see depreciation going forward?
Can you please repeat the question? Your voice is not clear.
How do you see depreciation going forward? Depreciation.
The depreciation has two parts. One is for the core assets. That is close to 9 to 11 crores over the last 1 year. We believe that the levels will remain quite constant. You can take it between 10 to 11.5 crore. The remainder of it is the site amortization on the asset side. All right? Which basically will be around another 60 crores on the whole year basis. Last year, because this is directly proportional to the sales booked, last year it was 42.54 crores, but going forward it should be close to 60-65 crores.
So about 105 crores, like total.
Give and take 5 crores here and there.
Understood. And since you mentioned about this commodity prices, we have 100% pass through. So EBITDA margin like 17.5 to 18.5% that we have been talking about. So that remain intact, or has there been any change?
We have given a projection of 16.5%. We maintain that if there is an upside, we should all feel happy about it.
Understood. Okay, that's it from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Umang Tariq from JHP Securities. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, hi. As Capacide now executes better, like it heads towards its achieving target revenue of 2,000 crores, how do we see the finance cost moving ahead? Because I'm looking this quarter, Q4 FY21, the finance cost was at around 18.99 crores. And it was at nearly the similar levels at last Q4 FY20, despite of gross debt being reduced by 125 crores. So any comment or guidance on that?
The debt of 125 crore reduction is from Q2 of last financial year. 125 crore has been brought down. Okay?
Right.
So obviously during the COVID period, when the debt had gone to 414 crores, on the whole year basis, you have seen a certain upside on the finance cost. You need to compare the whole finance cost for the full financial year. For FY20, the finance cost was 64.52 crores, which went to 70.25 crores in the current financial year. In FY21. If you account for the increase in revenue, we do believe that as a percentage it will fall. On overall basis, we do not see any increase in the finance cost for the full year on absolute basis.
Okay. So can we expect a relative decrease in finance cost?
I hope so. I hope so. Because if we also have a target for in the order intakes. So if we have order intakes, that will entail outgo of bank guarantees, and therefore the commissions will get added.
Okay.
So at the moment, if no orders are added, hypothetically speaking, then definitely you will see a decent reduction in the finance cost on full year basis, on absolute basis. Okay? But if orders are added, that much guarantee commissions will come into play.
Okay. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Anupam Gupta from IIFL. Please go ahead.
Hi, Rohit. So the question was basically on the CIDCO project site. If you can just give an update on the various project sites, what's happening at each, and maybe at the largest site where you are still waiting for some land permissions to come in. You can just give an update on the overall progress, what proportion is under execution, what is left to be started.
So Anupam, we had received earlier 6 out of the 7 locations. The 7th location, alternative land, Nawade, has been received. Our designing portion for that segment has been completed. So we expect the work over there to start It was to start immediately, but because of COVID second wave, we expect that to start from next quarter onwards. So we believe that we will be executing close to nearly 3,600 crore worth of overall order book simultaneously from next quarter end onwards. At the moment, as I already said, the target is to have 30 crores per month for quarter two, take it to 50 crores for quarter three, and 70 crores from quarter four onwards.
Right. And just continuing there, is the Vashi execution on the 100% land, or is the truck terminal still pending to be handed over?
The truck terminal earlier 50% was handed over, piling was going on.
Right.
Another 25% has been handed over, piling is going on that area also. And the remainder 25% we do not see as a challenge because it is available with CIDCO.
Okay. Understand. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rakshit from HDFC Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi Rohit. Congratulations on a decent comeback during this quarter and all-round improvement in the balance sheet. So my first question is on the pipeline of the projects beyond 2,000 crore of guidance of inflows which you have given. If you can highlight some of the other projects in all India basis where you are still looking to bid, or largely this will be focusing only in MMR in terms of bid pipeline.
So this question was just asked, but I have got more details now. So on the healthcare side, we are seeing close to 12,114 crores as bidding pipeline over the next 2 quarters. Before that, I would like to say the overall bid pipeline where we qualify is in excess of 45,000 crore. However, within that 45,000 crore, we are looking at public at 11,434 crores in the private sector. We are looking at healthcare projects of 12,114 crores, and we have also had certain joint ventures for certain international projects, but we shall discuss that later. So if you add this up, it's close to about 23,000 crores.
So sorry on this. What is this international project? Is it like in India or are you looking at abroad?
No, international means abroad.
What kind of projects are these and what is the funding?
Housing, hospitals, same projects.
Okay. So recently there was announcement
will be through bilateral agencies. Obviously, we will not compromise on the cash flow perspective.
But when there are immense opportunities in India only, why are you looking to go international? So what is the rationale behind it?
The rationale is simple, that if we are getting an opportunity where the competition is among the top tier players, that basically gives us a better opportunity to get better pricing. So the point is, in an overall bid pipeline of 46,000 crore, out of which 23,000 crore has been identified within India, bidding for 1,000 crore or 2,000 crore doesn't change our strategy. The strategy is and will remain quality clients. All right? Within India also, our focus, as I mentioned last time, will be limited to the geographies where we are present. So there is no change in strategy. Quality of the client is the principal strategy on which we are working, and that will not be changed.
Okay. We're just coming back to the CIDCO project. So now we are going to see, when this is almost getting a 2-year-old project now, September 19, now we're almost reaching there. So now we are seeing some pickup, COVID wave 1 and wave 2 is impacting the execution, but more on the working capital side. So do you think that with so much of advance on this project, mainly about close to 400 crores plus, do you think this project will require sustained capital from the CAPA side to execute it, or this will work on minimal working capital? So much lower than the company levels of like 60 odd days, 60 to 70 odd days. So will it operate at much lower working capital levels and free up cash flows for the company?
So firstly, the advances from this project were interest-free 330 crores and not 400 crores, out of which 25 crores has been already reduced from the execution already done. All right. From the cash flows, it's evident. We have mentioned it earlier also. On the working capital side, it is a self-liquidating, self-financing project. On the CapEx side, we may require some term loans. We will take the decision as and when the equipment have to be purchased.
But you won't be requiring working capital loans for this project, right?
No, we will not. Except bank guarantee, we will not be requiring working capital loans.
But what happened with the fourth tranche of mobilization advance? Is it, I remember about 125 odd crores still pending to be availed on this project, right?
Yeah, that's right. But the point is that we have to start work at all the project sites, and technically we have not been able to start work on the last project site. So is the situation with all the other three contractors. So the last tranche of advance has not been claimed as yet, and April and May have not been claimed.
Okay. So in the unbilled revenue, so what will be the contribution of unbilled revenue or work in progress or inventory? So on this project of CIDCO, how much will that amount be out of the total backlog of inventory or unbilled or in work in progress?
Crores from CIDCO and close to 15 crores from JJ Hospital. So if you look at the entire financial assets of 403 crores, 418 crores, I'm sorry, nearly 100 crores is coming from these three government projects, which are sizable in nature.
Okay. And just lastly, sir, on this project was to be funded by CIDCO and also from the auction of the properties or the lottery on these projects. So do you think any delays which may happen later because of the COVID, the lottery may get delayed? So on the funding side of this project, so how do you see happening or panning out for you? So if you can just touch upon that.
We believe that CIDCO has sufficient funds to pay for the current financial year. Obviously, we do not have the exact source of that and cannot be discussed or disclosed. Secondly, we also understand that a line of credit of close to $1 billion is being made ready to execute the project on a fast-track basis, because the government has lost nearly 14 to 15 months due to COVID and COVID-related issues. All right. Contractors also face the challenge of labor reduction. So now, once it starts, the government would like each location to be completed as soon as possible, and that is not restricted to us. It's basically across all clients and private and public both.
So you are able to ramp up the labor here to the levels which the project is progressing. So is there any shortage here still in terms of getting back the labor?
So we don't see CIDCO as a separate. It's within the company as far as capacity is concerned. The impact started from 20th or 21st of March. It was slower. It was a lower impact in April, where the manpower reduction has gone to 25%. It peaked to 40% in May. However, we have seen an influx of 1,825 workmen in the last 1 week, and we hope to come back to the March status by 20th of June, current month.
So 20th June, you will be normal in terms of labor force at your sites.
I hope there is no further surprises. We have all been struck by so many surprises. Commenting becomes very difficult. But that's the idea.
Sure, Rohit. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is the line of Parvez Akhtar Qazi from Edelweiss Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Good afternoon, sir. So I'm not sure if you have answered this earlier, but what is the kind of revenue that we are expected from the MHADA order in FY22?
Parvez, I will require about the Tata and Capacity teams are sitting together. We believe that 4 buildings will be starting, 2 immediately and 2 over the next 2 to 3 months. These are all 40 stories, so the quantities have changed drastically. Please give us a week. I will tell Amit to mail the details to you, which will be more logical rather than me giving you an answer which will not stand the test of the next 1 week.
Sure. And this last question, what is the kind of overall capex that we envisage in FY22?
So we have completed the capex on the private sector side, except for the central tower of Piramal, which has been done in the current financial year. Okay. Apart from that, we are looking at. I'm talking about the existing order book. New order book is not included in this.
Sure.
Apart from this, as I said, 75 to 80 crores will be the capex for CIDCO, spread mostly in this year and some spillover for the next financial year.
Okay. Great. That's it from my side, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Jiten Doshi from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Hope everyone is fine at your end. Sir, my question was regarding the revenue. Obviously, on the CIDCO, you have given the guidance. But, sir, on the overall side, do we see a number of 1,500 to 1,600 crore in FY20, including CIDCO? Because CIDCO, probably we can see 500 to 600 crore, if I'm not wrong, this year, based on your guidance.
What I'm trying, we had given a guidance, and we were very, very confident of the 2,000 plus crores. However, there is too much uncertainty, and therefore we are just trying to see how we can ramp up the operations in the next 9 months. All right. Obviously, God has been kind. Sites have not shut, though the labor reduction was there, and that will impact the Q1. No doubt about it. I believe it will impact everyone. But the impact is not as severe as it was last year, both on the labor front and on the revenue front. But we hope that with the COVID cases coming down, labor movement being very strong from first week of June, we do believe that there is an opportunity to relook at the revenues and then come out with a firm number. So while we do not want to change any target, but the only worry is that there should not be a third wave, fourth wave, or whatever you may call it, because that suddenly pulls you back by a couple of months.
I agree.
It would be premature to give any number. The operations team have been told to look into the fast-moving projects, create certain excess revenues in the remaining 9 months, so that we can pleasantly surprise ourselves and everyone around us and all the stakeholders.
So, sir, any insight, like I used to said, JJ can do 150 crore and CIDCO can do X number. So, any other projects which can do we can contribute largely in this year in terms of revenue?
Yes. All projects at the moment have the potential to give 10 crore plus. So, the MEP works at MCGM have started. We believe that from July or latest August onwards, we should see a 10 plus crore revenue from there. Ditto for JJ Hospital. Similar situation will be there for Oberoi, where our order book is close to 1,700 crore. We are committed to bill 35 to 40 crores there. Raymond is currently at a 14 crore billing cycle. CIDCO I have already mentioned. So I just told you that we will have to rework our strategy given the loss of revenue which was unforeseen in Q1 of the current fiscal, to see how best we can, pull back and go to our desired revenue levels.
Right.
Because the reduction in overheads, the reduction in costs, whatever we have done over the last 6 months, will only show benefit if the revenue increases. So it's in the benefit of the company and all its stakeholders to relook at that strategy.
Sir, on the unbilled side, you said unbilled revenue at JJ is 15 crores and overall is 100 crores in 3 projects. So I missed on CIDCO and the other government project. Can you just help me with the numbers, sir?
Sir, this is a very long list because it will have about 30.
No, just CIDCO, if you can tell me CIDCO is fine, sir.
So what I suggest is that Amit, my team will send you a mail so that you can have a look, and if you have any questions, he will be very happy to answer.
Sure. And sir, on the bidding pipeline 23,000 crore, that is 11,433 is public and private, if my understanding is correct, right, sir? And balance is healthcare.
Absolutely.
And sir, one last question, just on the expenses side. Obviously, we have seen some significant reduction in expenses. As you said, there was a reduction in ECL provision and some write backs. So, sir, what could be the future run rate? Whether this would continue with lower ECL and your operating expenses would be manageable? How we can you just throw some light on that, sir?
See, given our size of the balance sheet, the total current ECL stands at 50 crores.
Okay.
All right. There were certain provisions which were made for the whole of the year to see what COVID surprises could spring up. But since the last year has been completed, those excess provisions have been reversed, thereby resulting in additional income and that amount appearing in that total other incomes side of 12.06 crores. All right, that's number one. Going forward, we do believe that we have a good client pedigree. With no further surprises, we do believe that over the next 2 years, the ECL will come down. ECL cannot be looked at quarter-on-quarter basis. It has to be looked at
overall.
Yeah.
Achha, so this 9 crore is in other income, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, sir. That's it from my side, and all the best, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one now. The next question is from the line of Sita Raman from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity. What are these 14 hospital projects in the pipeline that you mentioned? Is it from private sector or from AIIMS, and then from which states are these 14 hospital projects?
We are talking about government, semi-government or corporations. These are hospital projects. None of them belong to private sector.
Okay. Government, semi-government, and okay. And what is the level of the impact on 1Q execution because of this COVID and the total labor availability itself that we can get, if we can get some sort of a ballpark figure?
It is under assessment. As I told you, the impact started from 20th of March. So it was quite small, maybe 25-30 crores in the last financial year. In April, the total labor shortage was 25%. It peaked to shortage of 40% in May at the peak. And as we speak, we have seen an inflow of excess of 1,800 workmen in first week of June. And we believe, given the trend and the influx which is happening, that we should be at the March mid-level by 20th of June 2021. The assessment of the impact on the whole year basis is under study. We are seeing what revenue can we add in the coming quarters to negate this impact. So at the moment it is not ready. Maybe in the next 10-15 days, if you connect with our IR team or Amit, they will be able to give you a detailed answer.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Praveen Khurana from Anand Rathi. Please go ahead.
Thank you for taking my question, sir. So first question was essentially on the inflows that we had in FY21. I think essentially there was only one new order that we could add, or rather it was a repeat order from the existing client. So just want to understand, last year was very slow for us in terms of order addition. Is it that we went a little slow in terms of adding new orders because we were sitting on a healthy order backlog, which is where there was no desperate need to kind of go and bid for new projects? Or is it that we were bidding, but then somehow we were not able to kind of make it a success because some of these other people were kind of eventually a little more competitive or aggressive in terms of bidding? Because as I see it, I think awarding was not that a bad number in FY21.
You have answered the question yourself. We were sitting on a huge order book, and we were all struck by COVID. There was practically no revenue in the first 6 months because the geographies where we were impacted the most. The revenue build-up started in Q3 and better in Q4. All right. We had promised that you will see growth in Q4. That is what we have shown. Now, the backlog remains at 8750 crores, excluding MANA. And MANA, our share is 4,300 crore. So as it is, the order book is very strong, but we have internally set a target of upward of 2,000 crore for the order intake, and we believe we are well in track on that. So, but having said this, the order book does give us a comfort of not going and rushing for orders which are not in our interest, also which are not in our geography. So the focus on geographical concentration will continue, and obviously, for the sake of repetition for the nth time, the quality of clients is most predominant.
Sure. And so when we go for these international orders, because we've decided to kind of go international, fair to assume your margin expectations will be slightly higher, because generally what we've seen with international orders is you don't get to have pass-through structure. Most of the times these tend to be kind of fixed price in nature. So essentially, your margin expectation, given the fact that you don't have that cushion which is available in India, would that make you kind of target a little extra in terms of margins?
So you have to see that in India also there are contracts with fixed price. There are contracts with escalation dependent on RBI indices, which is published by the Office of Economic Advisor, and there are 100% pass-through contracts. Now, it's on the prerogative of a company whether it would like to take any contract which is open-ended. When I mean open-ended, then it means that there is no price variation clause. No sensible contractor today will go and bid for a fixed price contract until and unless they are able to charge or provide with themselves a decent amount to capture the price variation. What this cycle of variation has shown is that the prices have gone as high as 51,000 rupees, which in the last cycle, let's say 4 years ago, had touched 45,000 rupees a metric ton. So at the moment, whoever is bidding at the top of the cycle. These things are, it is not possible to answer this question over a con call. This needs more understanding of the overall market scenario. What we are saying is wherever the competitive intensity works in our favor, we will give a look at it. And if there is no variation clause, then we will not opt for it.
Sure. And just one last bookkeeping question from my side. So when I look at our balance sheet for March 21, there's this other financial assets of almost around 560 odd crore rupees. And when I compare it with last year figure and look at the annual report, I get to see as if this 560 odd crore rupees was largely comprised unbilled revenues and bills due for certification. And the number is almost the same. So which essentially, is it fair to assume that the number would have remained the same, I think, which is why it still is same on an overall basis? And if that is the case, it's 40 odd crore rupees of unbilled and bills due for certification, and there's trade receivables around 285, and then long-term trade receivables of another around 81 crore rupees. The number seems to be too high when compared to the revenues that we've booked. It works out to be almost around 560 plus 280 is 840, and then another 80 crore rupees of long-term. So I understand, this is including retention, but still, 900,000 crore rupees of number on a revenue base of 900 crores for the full year looks to be on higher side. So if you could help me better understand this, please.
Sir, please consolidate the 380 crore revenue done in the quarter 4 rather than comparing last year where the first 6 months were washed through.
Sure.
Therefore, when you are comparing the system, please you just mention the right figures. The total uncertified portion has reduced from 151.49 crores in March 20 to 81.36 crores in March 21. Significant improvement. The WIP has increased from 356.06 crores to 418.515 crore only due to CIDCO and JJ, where the activities have increased. All right. On an overall basis, we still continue at 541 crores against 539.11 crores on increased and this is what I said in my earlier answer. We believe that by December end, we should be at the pre-COVID, that is December 20, FY 1920, December quarter level, and by March, we are targeting to be at pre-IL&FS debacle quarter levels.
Sure. So just one last, if I may, what is the total retention amount, including current as well as long-term or non-current balance?
3.17 crores. On the whole year basis, it is reduced by 13 crores.
13 crores. Sure, sir. Thank you. That's it from my end. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhishek from HDFC Securities.
So just on the AP affordable housing project, so are we interested in bidding for those projects, which are I think 50,000 odd crores, phase one is about 28,000 crores, which may get awarded. So if you can just touch upon that.
Extremely sorry, I haven't followed your question. It's not very clear, the voice.
Sir, I was talking about the AP affordable housing project, which recently the groundbreaking happened. Phase one of about 28,000 crores. So are we looking to bid for those projects?
We will look at bidding for all projects which are in our domain expertise and in our geographies of our interest. As I said, that the company wouldn't like to take any risk beyond what the order book it has and the geographies where it is present, at least for the next 4 to 6 quarters.
Okay. Secondly, you said that the creditors, the change which happened, the creditors moved to cash and credit, and that change is permanent. So any changes on the client side, are you seeing a reduction in the payment days or payment period happening there? So which could positively impact on our working capital, because one side we are getting constrained on the current liabilities, and on the other side, if the current assets payment doesn't change, the timeline doesn't change, then we are looking for a more expanded kind of a working capital cycle. So if you can just touch upon that.
So the collection has been, the total year collection has been 1,050 odd crores. All right. March quarter saw a collection of nearly 400 plus crores. So the point is that obviously debt levels cannot go down and creditor levels cannot go down without. I would like to rephrase the answer that the creditor levels cannot go down if the debtor levels cannot go down. So it is a concurrent function. On the contrary, the debtors have fallen to the level where we have been able to repay bank debt and also reduce the creditors. So therefore I just mentioned the quality of the client is of paramount importance, and we expect to do the same going forward.
So in the newer projects where you are talking to clients on the private side, we are seeing trends wherein the payment period will get reduced. So clients which was earlier paying you say for 90 days or 100 days may now agree to pay you maybe a little faster, maybe 60 days or 70 days. So incrementally, directionally, you are seeing compression of the overall credit period which you extend to your clients.
The debtor levels are actually on a very, very good levels already. Now the focus is to reduce the uncertified portion, which we have been able to manage to bring down from 159 crores last year, 151 crore last year to 81 crores in last year means FY22, 81 crores in FY21. Now the focus is to increase the billing and reduce the WIP and convert it into sales. So the first thing was reduce the debtor levels, reduce the size of balance sheet. Second was reduce the uncertified bills, and now is hopefully with COVID being behind us, from July onwards, start converting WIP into sales and therefore reduce the overall net working capital to 56 days or thereabouts by 31st March 2022.
Okay. So WIP has been a very high component of our current assets. So do you see that clients now extending better advances to you to basically overcome and fund a part of this WIP, which has been substantial portion of our current assets?
Sir, out of this entire WIP, 80 crores is of CIDCO, where the advances stand at 300 crores. Similarly, from the private sector, the advances are close to 140 to 150 crores. So basically, the WIP is being funded by the clients, partially, and partially through working capital.
Okay, so 80 crores of you're saying CIDCO and about 180 crores is advances, 150 crores is advances from the private clients.
Sir, I have answered this question 4 or 5 times. What I suggest is that our IR team will send you a mail if you can give us your email ID. Amit will provide the details to you. It is broken up into 4 or 5, which will give you the movement. All right? And then we can discuss and further elaborate how going on, where we would like to achieve over the next 4 to 5 quarters.
Okay, sir. Sure. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. That was the last question. I would now like to hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
Thank you everyone for joining the call. We hope we have been able to answer your queries. For any further information, we request you to get in touch with SGA, our investor relation advisors. Thank you, be safe, and look forward to catching up in the next quarter. Bye-bye.
Thank you. On behalf of Yes Securities, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.